Could you ever do a stand-up routine about the Tory party? That's what I asked myself. Yep. Lots of people do. Lots of Labour events have got stand-up comics and getting as much humour as you can out of the Tory party. Well, you've got to admit, there is an awful lot to work with, isn't there? Yeah? You've got Maybot. Everyone calls her Maybot because she's robotic. Those little beady eyes pierce. She'd be trotted out on stage, and in front of a load of cows, mostly, I would notice, she'll repeat that she was strong and stable. Stark und stabil. So, is there any kind of humour to be had in that? Well, not really, unfortunately. There is no humour at all to be had in her strength and stability. Mainly because she was neither strong nor stable, but weak and unstable. But also because her strength and stability means strong with the weak, weak with the strong. We heard that during the campaign, didn't we? There's kind of not much humour to be gained there, apart from her saying strong and stable to a load of cows who are just quietly chewing the cud and maybe occasionally mooing in the background. Humour and the Tories. Why do we need to search for it? Why do we need to find some kind of humour? Gallows humour, I would suggest. Gallows humour. It's the kind of humour that people who have been oppressed for years and years and years have always sought to find in their lives. It's the kind of humour where a joke is an act of insurrection. I've told this one loads and loads of times before, but as it's a little bit about humour, I'm going to tell it again. And it's a joke from the era of resistance to the Holocaust and resistance to the Nazis, as spoken about in this fantastic book, by the way. But the joke went like this. Comedian comes on stage, walks up to the microphone. I'll walk back a little bit so I can make it sort of look a little bit better. I just walk back, yeah. Walks up to the microphone on a German stage, yeah. And he goes a bit like this. Last year, we went to the Obersalzberg on holiday, and the grass was this high. There's humour in a joke. There's also revolution in a joke. There's also, in that note of humour, somebody taking an amazing risk. People like him often ended up in these places. So, yeah, I guess, one, the Tories can make us laugh, but they can make us cry as human beings as well. Why do they make me cry as a human being? Look, the way I see it is this. Inside every human being, the capacity for making what happened in these places is there. Yeah? It's in every human being. The book begins with the introduction and it says, those were the days, schönen Zeiten. There was the caption in a photograph album belonging to the last commandant of Treblinka. See page 226. Underneath the heading were pictures of the extermination camp where at least 700,000 people were sent to the gas chambers. A professor of medicine was ordered to visit Auschwitz during the university vacation. He was appalled by what he saw. Nonetheless, in his diary he extols the excellent food, first-rate vanilla ice cream. The following entry recurs again and again. Extracted and examined fresh live liver, spleen and pancreas material. The doctor, who did not lose his appetite in Auschwitz, was researching the effects of hunger on the human organism. The effects of hunger on the human organism. Okay, that was Auschwitz. That was the Holocaust, yeah? What about the effects of fire on the human organism? Grenfell Tower, for example. What about the effects of planned neglect on the human organism? Benefit cuts from disabled people. People being forced to work when they're mentally and physically ill. Families being starved. People having to eat from food banks. Makes you cry, doesn't it? It should make you cry. If it doesn't make you cry, what has happened may be that dark, evil centre that is in everybody, that innate, what the Freud would have called the id, the darkness, the id, the ego, and the superego. But this inner darkness in all of us, it's there in all of us, that leads to this desire for power at the expense of somebody else, this desire to big yourself up by making somebody look small, this desire to progress by stamping on the people under you all the time until you drive their faces into the dirt. This desire, this avarice, this greed, this destructive nature to consume that is there in the darkness that is the heart of every human being, that's why people vote Tory. The Tories say that desire's okay. We love that desire. Sure, it's survival of the fittest, isn't it? Yeah? It's social Darwinism. It's the kind of thing that was mentioned in this book. Go back to some of the videos and accounts of the Holocaust and whatever. And there's a hell of a lot on this kind of social Darwinism there. There's also this really cruel sort of eugenic view that some lives are worth more than others. Yeah? That the sick and disabled, in the natural world, they would die out. They'd be consumed. They'd just disappear. They'd freeze to death, starve to death. They wouldn't be able to find food. You know, the Nazis had videos of insects bloody killing each other in the fight for survival. Don't you think that's how the Tories view life? Look at the latest one from them. Was it David Davis, whoever it was? Well, I don't actually think we should fund life-extending medicines for older people. I don't think the NHS should fund that. Why? Because suddenly we're useless, we're not contributing, we're not giving anything, we're not doing anything. What about all the years we did contribute? What about all the national insurance contributions we paid? All the tax that we paid? Don't we deserve care in our old age? Not according to David Davis. Again, I started off talking about comedy, but black humour, gallows humour, the only kind of thing that lets you cope with sick little perverts like that. Do you know we had a brown envelope come through the door this morning? Just one brown envelope. Every time I see a brown envelope on that front door mat, well, back door in our case, my heart beats faster. Yeah? It beats faster. Because for so many of us, that can be the first step in our disintegration and destruction. Look, the NHS is nearly 70 years old. We have to fight tooth and nail for it to survive. If we can use humour as a weapon in that fight, let's use it. Let's weaponise humour. Let's use every weapon at our disposal, our command. Let's fight for a better world, to quote, or half quote, Chaplin from The End of the Great Dictator. A world in which the young have a future and the old a security, where old age has a security. That's what we're fighting for. That's what people fought for on D-Day. That's what our parents died to preserve. Our parents and grandparents and our forebears. They died to preserve that. Don't give up. Only you can counter these lies, this deception, this selfish greed, this avarice, this destruction promoted by the evil Tories who want you to think you are so important it doesn't matter what happens to others. A world beyond "I'm all right, Jack, pull up the ladder" is possible. Go out there and make it happen.